Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, max out your savings. The more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more. Plus, get free home delivery on any smart bed with base. Limited time. Check it out at a Sleep Number store near you or at sleepnumber.com today.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplin. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Shea Dixon, about 15 minutes. Sean Salisbury in hour 3. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
In today's episode of As the LSU Football World Turns, Brian Kelly is suing LSU for $54 million. This thing, just when you think it's going to quiet down, the firestorm just kicks up again. It's like a new gust of wind carrying the wildfire to blaze a new field. It's really uncanny and unlike anything I can remember in my time covering LSU. I know a lot of people have said that, but it's true. I mean, this is unprecedented. When you went to bed on Monday night, you woke up Tuesday morning. What you missed was that apparently on Monday, Brian Kelly's representatives and LSU representatives had a conversation whereby LSU's representatives floated the idea of terminating Brian Kelly for cause, at which point Brian Kelly's representatives drafted a lawsuit for $54 million, the full amount of Brian Kelly's buyout, which was filed in the 19th Judicial. Now, today is Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans, of course. So courts are closed, and so a lot of people had trouble getting their hands on that lawsuit. There's some speculation as to whether or not the suit has actually been filed, if it was filed but not processed. There's a lot of different things there, but the bottom line is there's been a lawsuit written where Brian Kelly's legal team is suing the LSU Board of Supervisors for $54 million, the full amount of his buyout. So there's a lot to unpack and digest here, and I'll try to do it chronologically and filling in all the gaps to let you know how and why we are where we are and how it moves forward and what all the particulars are. So if you go back to Brian Kelly being fired on that Sunday, one of the things that LSU is contending here in this lawsuit, that Brian Kelly's, LSU is contending this. So Brian Kelly's legal team filed the lawsuit, but it's based on conversations had with LSU's representatives. And one of the things that LSU's representatives told Brian Kelly's team is that Scott Woodward did not have the authority to fire Brian Kelly. Now, we have a report today at LouisianaSports.net. It's free. It's there at the top of the homepage if you want to go read it. That when you look through the bylaws of the LSU Board of Supervisors, for any employee that makes over $250,000, which, of course, Brian Kelly does or did, for Scott Woodward or the athletic director to fire that employee, there would have to be board approval. And Scott Woodward on that Sunday did not get board approval, so he actually lacked the authority to fire Brian Kelly. That's what is alleged here. And we cite at LouisianaSports.net the exact part of the bylaws, which is bylaw section 1, article 7, subsection L, subsection 3. So it's right there in black and white if you want to read it. So by the letter of the law, or by the letter of the bylaw, Scott Woodward did not have the autonomy or the authority to fire Brian Kelly without board approval. Now, guess is the board is just there as a ceremonial body that rubber stamps everything that is done. But in this instance, sure, legally, by the letter of the bylaw, Scott Woodward would have needed board approval. So that gives LSU now the cover to go to Brian Kelly and say, we actually never really fired you because he didn't have the autonomy to do it. And so you were never really fired. We kept paying you. And so now we're thinking about firing you for cause because you have to be notified within 7 days of the event that you're being terminated for cause. The next obvious question everyone asks is, okay, well, what is the cause? And on that Monday after Brian Kelly was fired, I sat here in this chair and I told you two things. Number one, that there had been an offer. As a matter of fact, I got it on my phone. I'll play it for you. I don't mind saying that there have been whispers of maybe attempting to exercise the for-cause component of Brian Kelly's contract, which would nullify the buyout. I don't believe that would happen, but maybe that could be used as leverage to get him to negotiate a lesser number. Okay, so that was me on this show on that Monday. Told you that they had talked about exercising the for-cause clause. Didn't think they'd do it. Think it was just leverage. I'll get back to that in a second. This was the other thing I told you, because yesterday you saw the advocate talk about the settlement that was negotiated. I told you Brian Kelly didn't agree to a lesser number. I mean, here you go. I'll play this one for you. Would Brian Kelly accept a lesser... Oops, I hit the wrong button on my phone. Sorry. That's what happens when you don't pull the audio and you're playing it from your phone. Here you go. For his contract. I'm an idiot. A settlement. Would Brian Kelly accept a lesser amount for his contract? And that was presented, as I'm told, to Brian Kelly and his agent on Sunday. A lump sum settlement of his deal. Would you take a lump sum now, a lesser amount lump sum? And he declined. Okay. So that was the Monday after Brian Kelly was terminated, let go, or all that sort of, term it whatever you want now. I sat here and I told you he was offered a lump sum. He said no. We found out the numbers yesterday from the advocate, and also told you that they were considering the for cause. So this isn't retroactive. These are things I told you on this show the Monday after Brian Kelly was fired. Okay. So two things that I would let you know following up on that. Number one is I was able to find out today LSU's counter, or Brian Kelly's counter. So the way that went down with the negotiation, LSU offered Brian Kelly $25 million. The advocates reported this, by the way. LSU offered Brian Kelly $25 million. He declined. Kelly's representatives countered at $43 million. LSU declined and countered at $30 million. Brian Kelly declined. So they are far apart. Brian Kelly is open to a settlement. They are not close on that number, which has led us now to where we are. So the next question everyone's going to ask is, okay, well, what did he do that would justify the for cause clause of the contract? I have been told three things. Now, two of them are personal, and I am not going to say those on air until they become part of the public record. Unless and until they become part of the public record, because in my opinion, it's unfounded, and at this point would be nothing more than rumor mongering. I'm not going to do it. But a lot of you have talked about it. You know what a lot of the rumors that have spread. At least one of them. The other one I don't think you know. The one that is very public that I've been told, that I don't mind sharing because it has been very public, has been the alleged mishandling of the Greg Brooks situation. There's a very real question that comes to mind now and to light, which is to say, that was 2 years ago. Could you fire someone for cause retroactively 2 years ago? There might be some legalese that they could go through in different ways they can manipulate lines of law and letters of the law. I don't know all that. But what I do know is LSU has not formally fired Brian Kelly. Scott Woodward apparently did not have the authority to do so. They're continuing to pay Brian Kelly. On Monday, the two sides were having conversations. LSU clearly floated, or LSU representative floated the idea of a for-cause firing. That spawned the action to file the lawsuit for $54 million. Now, there's a couple of other things that are interesting. Even if Brian Kelly wins that lawsuit, let's say hypothetically that lawsuit goes to trial and Brian Kelly wins a $54 million judgment against the Board of Supervisors, which is a representative of the state. For Brian Kelly to get that money, as I understand it through many conversations I had today with legislators, members of the Appropriations Committee, members of the Board of Regents. I spent from about 7:45 this morning until 1:30 this afternoon doing nothing but this story. And I had a lot of conversations. What would likely happen is Brian Kelly would have to go through appropriations, meaning he would have to find a legislator who would put his $54 million into an appropriations bill. He would have to pass the Appropriations Committee, pass the House, pass the Senate, go to the governor's desk. The governor would have to sign off on it, and the governor has line item veto power in the appropriations bill. So basically, Jeff Landry would have to say, okay, we'll pay you $54 million. So bottom line, Ice Cube's chance in hell he ever sees a dollar of that judgment from the state of Louisiana. And there are tens of millions of dollars in unpaid judgments against the state that have yet to go through appropriations. So that's not going to be a realistic path for Brian Kelly. So what are we doing? I'm going to give you my opinion. Okay? This is my opinion rooted in a lot of information of what's happened, talking to a lot of the particulars. Okay? And you can choose to believe that I'm talking to particulars or not. At this point, if you don't get it, that's on you, not me. You make up your mind. I think LSU floated the idea for cause for the exact reason I told you the Monday after Kelly was initially fired. They're trying to strong-arm Brian Kelly into negotiating a lesser number so as not to go through the very public airing of laundry. Because if they start airing the for-cause reasons, there could be public embarrassment, a lot of other things. Thinking, okay, maybe they'll accept our terms, they'll be more willing to negotiate a lesser number. Brian Kelly said, okay, I'll play this game of chicken. Go ahead, air it. We're filing a $54 million lawsuit against you. You're giving me every single dollar I'm owed. I think you have both playing a game of leverage and a high-stakes game of chicken, and neither one's blinking right now. And they're doing this in the public, which continues to reflect negatively on LSU, LSU Athletics, Brian Kelly, Scott Woodward, the board, everybody. I think Jeff Landry. Nobody comes through this looking good. Nobody. And my concern, as I'm sure it is for many of you, is that this is going to negatively affect the coaching search. Now, I have had conversations with folks at LSU, very closely associated with the coaching search, and they assure me that in conversations with agents and the people they're targeting and talking to, that the concern isn't there. And that they knew that this was a possibility, and so they were in front of it and started communicating that in advance to their potential targets. Okay, you can have as much open communication as you want, but ultimately, you're going to be sitting down at a table with an agent trying to negotiate a contract with that agent's client, and you're going to come to this point, and they're going to say, why in the world will we believe this contract is worth the paper it's written on when you just fired that coach and you wouldn't pay him his buyout? It's the thing I told you the day Brian Kelly was fired. The world is watching, and how you handle Brian Kelly's buyout is going to be a reflection on you and your ability to sign future deals. And I get it. I hate the contract, sucks, all that sort of stuff. You sign the man to the contract. You owe that man that money. And everybody's watching how you handle this. And it also goes back to the point we've made over and over again. LSU is not a poverty program. but it is not oil money rich. Texas A&M could have stroked that check for Jimbo Fisher 100 times over and never batted an eye. LSU, $54 million for Brian Kelly. We've got the governor involved. We've got board members involved. We got $54 million lawsuits. We've got for-cause claims. I mean, it's all to pinch pennies and to save money because LSU is not the type of program that can easily and readily afford to stroke a $54 million check to make for a coach not to work. It's why this is where it is. And my concern is that it will affect LSU's ability to hire the next coach. Now, look, there's a batch of coaches in this pool that will take this job no matter what. Frank Wilson will take this job no matter what. Kelvin Shepard, he'll come one day. He's going to take this job no matter what. John Summerall may have options, and he may not take this job no matter what because he's got options. But you have your heart set on Lane Kiffin? You want to go land one of the big fish? They may look at this and go, not so sure I like that. And that could negatively affect your ability to hire the next coach. So this is far from over. I don't think this Brian Kelly lawsuit, buyout, all this, I don't think this fully goes into the shadows until LSU hires a new coach. I think it's also very clear now that there was a horribly erroneous report that the buyout had been finalized. Another report that someone had committed to pay the lion's share of it. Wrong. Look for good information. Anyway. Another ugly day with all this stuff. Can't come to an end soon enough. Pay that man his money and get on with it. Pay that man his money. Get on with it. Hire a new coach and move this program forward. All right, it's After Further Review. Show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. I could use one right now. Of course, LSU back at home. Tigers wear white at home. That's why Bud Light this year hat tipped to the LSU tradition with the white can and aluminum bottle. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. Okay, it is After Further Review. Let's move on and talk a little bit about the future of the LSU football program. I'm a little late here, but Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger, for his Cruton segment. That's next. Stick around.
After Further Review.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions. It's Glow Resources. Love telling you about Glow Resources. Awesome people, man. Jareth Nakan and his team over there, they've built a big, giant business, one of the top 100 privately owned companies in the greater Baton Rouge area in the Baton Rouge Business Report. And man, you understand the operation they run and you understand it because they are all over the place. And I love that home base is still here. Despite the fact that they literally have international clients, home base is still right here. The corporate headquarters are on Perkins, right near Pennington, and they serve Baton Rouge and New Orleans primarily. But they got offices all over. Orlando, Miami, Houston, everywhere. And they serve businesses all over the world. So no matter what your business is and no matter what job you're looking to fill, if you need the right people, Glow Resources can help. So check them out online. Start right there at GLO. GlowResources.com, GlowResources.com. Complete employer solutions.
After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Always appreciate Shea Dixon from On 3, the Bengal Tiger, jumping aboard, talk a little Cruton. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, Matt. How are you?
Busy in a weird time around LSU football. Hey, one of the things since Brian Kelly was fired that kind of was a feather in the cap was that nobody opted out and there weren't any decommitments. Well, now that's changed. DeAnthony Lafayette has decommitted from LSU and is now committed to Miami. So let's walk through that and what happened there.
This is a kid, Matt, who committed to LSU in July, I believe it was, and he had, coming out of Lake Nona High in Orlando, was someone that Blake Baker, your DC, Kevin Peoples, the DN's edge rushers coach, were both high on through the offseason, kind of before he even boomed a little bit. ahead of his senior year. They were one of the offers that were notable in the SEC. Others came from there afterwards, but a guy they felt good about is kind of a sleeper in this class. I mean, look, he's not the biggest guy, 6'1.5", maybe 230, but is a pretty productive edge rusher. And this is a case in point, Matt, I think, of just the reality you're living in right now. It's November 11th. Yeah, God, I cannot believe it's only November 11th. But in this case, I'm gonna say that's late in the season here. You've got until December 3rd to signing day. There's so many unknowns with the timeline of this hire. And Burge Osbury talked to you about this, about the timeline, what all it would mean. And he said, at least, I'm paraphrasing here, if I remember it correctly, Matt, correct me, that by that early signing period, they at least would like to know the direction they're going. I take that to mean a candidate or two in mind. They might be in the playoffs, but direction meaning with this timeline, are you punting on the early signing day relative to we have a full staff in place? It got, a head coach got named after Christmas and we're really salvaging this class, or maybe even more importantly, the entire roster, and where you get into January with the transfer portal and the NFL draft declaration deadline being on the 15th and the portal ending on the 16th. So how do you kind of navigate that? And we've talked about it. Frank Wilson is interim head coach. All these current staff in place certainly helped stabilize it. But D'Anthony Lafayette, who came out and just said it, hey, look, I'm a few weeks out from signing. I don't know if Kevin Peoples will be there. I don't know if Blake Baker will be there. And I'm going a few states away from home to make this commitment. This isn't a Louisiana kid who's going to LSU regardless type of thing. So it wasn't a shock when a day later he commits to Miami. That's an in-state school. They're stable under Mario Cristobal right now. Florida's going through a coaching change. FSU might be right behind them. So I think he's sort of a good case study of this is expected, right? Like, yeah, you've had 17 commits. You're down to 16 now. Most of them are Louisiana kids, some border state kids. But when you get into a few states away now and the coaches he has connections with cannot tell him whether or not they'll still be here when he signs in December and then enrolls in January, that's a lot to ask for a kid and family, right? So not a shock that Miami kind of kept in contact with him and said, you've got the green light, and he went ahead and made the decision. But again, like, not really that nefarious. He came out and said, thanks to all the LSU fans. Like, I really appreciate this opportunity, but I've got to go somewhere where, everything's sort of already in place for me and not have to sign on the dotted line and wonder who coaches me later.
The flip side of it, Shea, you sort of alluded to, it's not like a Louisiana kid who wants to go to LSU. On Monday, Lamar Brown tweeted, I don't want to read too much into this, but he tweeted a photo of himself in the LSU uniform, one of his recruiting pictures with no text, no context, just the photo there. I think, in a way, we're all meant to interpret that as his pledging of allegiance to the LSU program. What, if anything, should we make of the Lamar Brown tweet?
Yeah, I speak fluent 17-year-old social media, and I think that it's just tells us I'm still committed. Rally around me here in mentions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean too much to me, nor should it anyone else. I think most people will say, hey, as long as he hasn't decommitted yet, and as long as he hasn't made visits to other colleges yet, you feel like you're in an okay spot here going into the final weeks, or at least about as good as one of a spot as you could hope to be in, which is where they're at. And Lamar Brown is similar to a lot of these guys that now a handful have made visits or are setting up visits, whatever point they might be at. But Brown, let's not skip over this. He's the number one player in the country. Like, I think it's easy for us as Baton Rouge folks to say the kid from U-High who's always had an offer since he stepped foot on the Cubs football field, kind of gloss over that reality. He's not just your number one athlete or D lineman, number one player. So everyone's out there trying to get him flipped, notably A&M, Miami, schools that had been in the mix prior to committing to LSU, but he hasn't budged. And I think if you're LSU fans, that's kind of what you want to see is, all right, we expect some decommitments, but can we hold on to the bulk of them? And can you really hold on to these 5 stars that are probably pretty early impact guys in the defensive line?
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Get him at Shea Dixon. Okay, Shea, so D'Anthony Lafayette out. Are there other members of this class right now that are committed that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I'll give you the two that are kind of most notable, at least from the last time that we spoke, Matt. One, Bryson Cooley,
Right.
from Mississippi. Steve Wiltfong kind of runs things on the rival side here. Put in his flip pick from Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Bama. All of these schools had been on him. He's been committed to LSU, but it's much like D'Anthony Lafayette, except I can just change the position, right? He doesn't know if Brad Davis is going to be here. They don't have an offensive coordinator in place. He doesn't know who the next head coach is. And look, they don't have a winning record, but Mississippi State and Levy and that staff are in place. There's no expectation that changes in the offseason. So it won't be a surprise if he ends up in Mississippi State's class. And you still have a handful of offensive linemen committed, but that brings you to the other one. Your highest rank offensive lineman right now on the commit list is Bryson Martinez from right here at East Ascension. And he already made a visit to Texas and then made another kind of scheduled official visit. So very much exploring his options. Texas is a school that hasn't let up there, but still remains committed. But it's one of those things, Matt, like as we get closer to December 3rd, how many of these guys, even if local, even if, hey, I'm committed to LSU, even beyond just who the current head coach is, he doesn't know who the next offensive line coach is if it's not Brad Davis. He doesn't know the head coach. He doesn't know the staff. And it brings me back to where we started. Do we know those answers by the early signing period, or is it a risk they run to where either you're signing them then, they flip elsewhere, or they've told you, I'm willing to wait until February to sign, but I would at least need to know kind of the feel for things over the coming weeks. And then you toss in how many of these guys, a bulk of them, are early enrollees. They're supposed to be on campus in January before any playoffs and all of that wrap up. Those guys are trying to move in. So more often than not, they're wanting to sign in this early signing period. And that's a big reason why nobody pays attention to February signing day anymore. It's a relic of the past at this point. And unless you're in a coaching situation like this, where maybe you have to wait on guys or convince them to wait instead of just outright flipping, that this December 3rd to 5th is the one that everyone's paying attention to.
Shea, is Martinez an early enrollee?
He is. So
yeah.
He's most everyone we talked about, Catholic High doesn't do it. There's a number of schools that don't do it. And I've kind of noticed, and I've talked to the national guys, Matt, about this, is that unless your school just doesn't allow it, most guys who are already committed, knowing they're going off to college, will have lined it up with their school and the guidance counselor in LSU to say, how many courses do I need to take in the summer and then fall of my senior year, just to ensure, hey, look, I can skip my spring semester and go right to college.
Shea, before you go, last thing, 2 home games to go. What are we keeping an eye on here for these next 2 home games, and what's sort of on the docket here?
Yeah, I was feeling that out with some people. It's getting all these committed guys in and then getting your Louisiana and border state kids for next year in, just to put them around the program. Let them experience Tiger Stadium, let them get to know some of the personnel, staffers. And look, some of these assistants may be here. So if they just keep recruiting as it's been, then you don't want to skip a weekend. So given kind of where the program is, Matt, and it's an 11 a.m. game, and it's a non-conference game, it's not. If you had a head coach and 25 commits, you're not getting a wave of recruits in for those games. Right. So I think they did a lot of the heavy lifting before, and now it's about just holding on tight.
He's Shea Dixon, on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Man, it's a great time with coaching search and, of course, trying to put this roster together. Shea, at the risk of going a little long, I mean, when you look at this with the December signing period and the January portal period, if they don't have a roster in place or a coach in place, how do they put a roster together?
I think the biggest thing for me is you would have to know something by the end of December. And without going too long-winded in it, you can't, in a great world, right? Like we could make the hire and the hire is this person, but we're going to only tell the recruits, we're in the team, it'll never leak out, right? Like that never happens.
Right.
So anyone hoping that route is one to take is not. Everyone's going to be in the dark until it's named and leaks or whatever. But I think you just got to hope that in a world, let's envision it, if Frank is still on staff and he's able to give some assurances to families and you sort of navigate it through that and you get the bulk of them signed and you lean on them just wanting to be here no matter what, which is a built-in benefit of Louisiana by and large, that's how you get through it. And you sort of hope that even in this NIL world, that maybe that gives you a little extra budge, knowing, hey, look, everything's in place for you. You'll figure out things with this new staff when it comes. And I think a lot of these guys, just knowing their backs are against the wall with enrolling early, are going to have a little bit of blind faith, which, again, we could wash all this away if they're announcing a hire at the end of this month, right? But I just don't know at this point. I don't know anything. Who are they targeting, and when is that person coming? And if I don't have those answers, the recruits certainly are probably in that same boat.
Yeah. Shea, we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what I owe you for getting to go on at 3:15 through all this, but send the check, and the check will be in the mail for you, man.
I think it works the other way, typically, man. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you, Shea.
You got it, man.
All right, buddy. We appreciate it. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows door siding, they do shutters too. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. It's energy-efficient replacement windows. Beautiful entry doors, hardy plank, vinyl siding. They do everything. They do it better than anyone. I tell you every single day with Relief Windows. Oh, you can go get quotes, and if you want to do that and you're looking for who's going to give you the cheapest price, that's not going to be Relief Windows. It never will be. They're never going to be the cheapest. They sell a premium product. They offer a true lifetime transferable warranty. They have measure techs, install crews, an actual service department, which means they can get to you quicker and more effectively and efficiently. You want the best possible experience with the best product and the best people? Well, there's only one choice. It's Relief Windows. So give them a shout today. Remember what your mama told you when you were young. You get what you pay for. At Relief Windows, they'll always be the best. ReliefWindows.com, ReliefWindows.com. Okay, quick break. We'll go around the SEC when we come back. Tiger Hoops got a win last night. We'll touch on that. Sean Salisbury in Hour 3. And have you seen the new odds for the LSU football coach? I'm not sure I believe it, but you have got to see where Nick Saban now stands in the odds to be the next LSU coach. We're going to get to that at the start of Hour 2. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. You know, I tell you every day that if you want to feel your best, Goodwood can help. Maybe it's ED treatments. Maybe it's hormone replacement therapy. But the other thing I want you to know is that over at Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, they have a variety of non-pharmaceutical options, injectable medications that can help you with so many ailments. Maybe it's your gut health. Maybe you're dealing with IBS, Crohn's, things like that. Do you know what options are out there for you that are non-pharmaceutical? Goodwood's got tons of them. Maybe you've got muscle or tissue issues, injuries that you've struggled with. They have options at Goodwood. I've been using a treatment for my lower back that has brought me relief that I have not had for as long as I can remember. 2025, y'all. World's amazing. Explore it. YourGoodwood.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Plowing these fields in the hot summer sun. Over by the gate, Lordy, here she comes with a basket.
All right, we're rolling along here in hour number 1. Greg Sankey today was talking a little bit about the college football playoff, and the SEC is in a really good spot. But remember, the SEC and the Big Ten have kind of been wrangling about the future of the college football playoff format and the number of automatic qualifiers from each. They just want dramatically different formats and how they go about doing it, whether you're going to have automatic qualifiers or an opportunity for more at-large teams. Despite the fact that the SEC is having a really good year, Greg Sankey sort of reinforced his stance on the AQs.
I recognize reality. I think we had some pretty good ideas around 14, 16. There's obviously more ideas. I've been amazingly consistent since this move from 4 to something else started to say I'm not a fan of AQs, if you will. And in fact, we have no group of 5 representatives, I think, in the top 25, or maybe one was. That's problematic, and that's an indicator why you don't just jump on the AQ bandwagon, in my view. And that could help us in a particular, that could be problematic for us in particular, not to have that assurance. But that's where we've been as a group for 6-7 years now.
So, for example, a year ago, the SEC got just 3 teams in the playoff. AQs, if you had 5 AQs or 4 AQs, whatever that number would be, it would have been beneficial. This is a year where there's a lot of football still to be played over 3 weeks plus the conference championship weekend, but Texas A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt. I mean, you're looking at a half dozen teams in the Southeastern Conference that could potentially have a strong case to be made to be Texas to be in the college football playoff. And Sankey understands that his league's got a really good shot here in 2025.
We're in pretty good shape, yeah. A lot of football to play. You saw some close games today that may or may not have had an impact around the country. November's always an interesting month. Big game tonight here. Big game here next week. We got a few big games. We got Texas and Georgia. So, yeah, we're in good shape. Pretty good teams, too. We're not in good shape because I say so. We're in good shape because we got pretty good teams.
So it's interesting just year 1 to year 2 in the 12-team playoff to show the disparity from the conference where, hey, look, in 3 weeks, you see a lot of upsets. I mean, Vanderbilt could lose to Tennessee. Texas could certainly lose this weekend to Georgia. You could have these 2-loss teams have a third loss hung on them. You could end up with a team getting its second or third loss hung on it in the SEC championship game. There's a lot of things that could transpire. What if Texas A&M loses to Texas, still goes to Atlanta, and loses there? I'm not necessarily saying I think that's going to happen, but there's a lot of football still to be played. But I agree with Greg Sankey. I don't want AQs. I mean, I'm a college football elitist. I don't need the G5 or G6 to have an automatic berth. I don't think anybody should have an automatic berth. I think the 12 or hopefully 14 or 16 best teams should get in regardless. Just my opinion. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I do believe in a meritocracy. Earn your way into the field. And nothing should be handed someone just because of the league you play in. So they'll get to making those decisions sooner than later for next year's format, but hopefully it's 14, maybe 16. I would love to see 16, but crawl before you walk. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. Y'all, we're approaching the end of the year. Of course, great time to go buy a new vehicle when you got to move inventory, and they always have great deals. The Volkswagen deal days are going on right now at South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. How about 0% on 2025 Taos S for APR for 60 months or receive $2,000 customer bonus. There's also 2025 Atlas for 0.9% APR for 60 months. There's always great deals going on over at South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer, where you could shop every vehicle, new and certified pre-owned. If it's on the lot, it's online at southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? All right, going to move quickly here. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Taylon Green and 2 starting offensive linemen will return for the Hogs against LSU on Saturday. They were injured against Mississippi State. Of course, Taylon Green, the quarterback, and then right tackle Marion Harris and center Caden Kittler both returned to practice during the open week. They'll be good to go against the Tigers.
The Florida Gators.
Florida is sticking with DJ Lagway against Ole Miss. Lagway was benched in the loss to Kentucky this past weekend, 38-7 in Lexington. My goodness, how disgusting was that? Lagway was just 11-19 for 83 yards with a touchdown and 3 interceptions against the Wildcats, but it will be Lagway against Ole Miss.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Blake Shapen left Mississippi State's loss to Georgia in the third quarter after taking a big hit. Jeff Lebby said Shapen didn't do anything Monday. The plan was to evaluate him as the week progresses. Wednesday will be when we'll get the availability report. When Shapen was out, freshman QB Kamario Taylor replaced him.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Mark Stoops has confirmed a pair of season-ending injuries. Free safety Jordan Lovett, outside linebacker Sam Green, both injured against Florida, both done for the year. Both will require surgery. Specific injuries, however, were not disclosed.
The Texas Longhorns.
And 2027 linebacker Taven Epps has decommitted from Texas. 6'4", 220, originally chose the Longhorns over USC, UCLA back in April. He's a 4-star, top 100 player nationally, the 12th best edge out of California. He was the first commit for the 2027 class. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Back tailgating this weekend, y'all. You need your generators, little portable generators for your tailgate. I would say fans, but now it'd be more like heaters, especially with the weather like it was this morning. They got all that over at Sunshine. And, of course, tractors, gators, zero-turn mowers. They got it all at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. All right, let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back and wrap up hour number one. Remember, you can always email us, tweet us, or text the show, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways you can get involved in the show. We'll continue to wrap up hour number one next.
AFR.
How about this Christmas giving your family something that everyone can enjoy for years to come? How about you put in a pool or an outdoor kitchen? Duplessis Builders, they can make either happen, and it's more affordable than you think. Now, with Duplessis Builders, they can absolutely build your dream resort-style custom pool or an outdoor kitchen. I mean, go look at their Instagram, go look at their website. You'll see examples of their work. I mean, they do some palatial jobs. They also have a template on the website for both pools and outdoor kitchens whereby you can pick from models they've already had designed. So, for example, go to duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net. Right there on the homepage where it says pick your pool, hit that. There's 11 different pool designs already made where you can choose whatever finishes you want, starting as low as $49K. And they have financing available. duplessisbuilders.net.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Open up a throttle and stir a little dust. Just look at her face.
Nice pass by Reese. Gets it to Carter. Ahead to Miller. Off to Nwoko, and he'll slam it down. Textbook way to beat the full court pressure at 69-45 Tigers.
Chris Blair, LSU Sports Radio Network. Tigers beat UNO 93-58 Monday night at the Maravich Center. Michael Nwoko had 22. Marquel Sutton, Pablo Tamba each added double-doubles. LSU blows out UNO 93-58. The line in that was 19.5. I mean, we were talking about it yesterday. That was one where, when Jimmy was here last week during the opener against Tarleton State, the line was 15.5, and it was on Otter Locks. He said, take LSU because the odds makers probably haven't yet caught up to just how talented this LSU team is. I'm not saying that you should in any way be impressed by LSU blowing out Tarleton State or UNO, but sometimes there is value in betting teams early in the season because as the sample size grows, you learn more about the team, and so the odds makers catch up. So there's value early, and I'd kind of wondered after LSU beat Tarleton State by 30 if there was an opportunity, if maybe that it adjusted. That line did go, where it's 15.5 against Tarleton State, 19.5 against UNO, and LSU won by 30 again, so 35. So two blowout wins, and you're seeing all the newcomers out there doing work for LSU. I look, candidly, I was watching Monday Night Football last night and working, not necessarily locked into this game. It was on, but I wasn't watching every minute of it. I like the minutes distribution that you're seeing a lot of guys get involved. Not hard to imagine though, considering you're blowing out a bad team. But you had four guys off the bench play double-digit minutes. I mean, Robert Miller played 20 minutes. Jalen Reed and Jalen Reese each had 17 minutes. Rashad King 15. PJ Carter at 10 off the bench. So I mean, everybody played. Even Ron Zipper, Jaden Bobette, and Mozzie Mosley all had 2 minutes. So they all got out there. But you're defining roles and you're getting out there and learning how to play together. I'm just going to continue to say, with respect to this team, I'm not going to be fooled after what we saw last year. Last year, LSU got off to an 11-2 start in the pre-conference. They had some nice wins. They beat Kansas State in Manhattan. They went down to Florida and beat UCF in triple overtime. I mean, they had some blowout wins against lesser teams, and then they got in the conference and they face-planted. They were just completely outmatched in the best league in America. So, there are going to be some interesting challenges ahead. You got FIU, Alcorn State, Omaha, Drake. I mean, you'll run over these teams. You do have a game against 11th-ranked Texas Tech coming up in early December. You are going to play SMU as well. So there are some opportunities in the pre-conference coming where we'll learn a little bit more about this team. But January 3rd, I mean, you'll open up conference play against the Aggies on January 3rd. That's really when we'll start to know about it. Here was Matt McMahon, by the way, after the game against UNO.
I was really proud of our players and their preparation. We had tremendous respect for Coach Hollowell and what he's building there at New Orleans. Their win last week at TCU, they were fantastic. Up 21 with 7 minutes to go in the game, dominated the glass. And I thought our guys were really dialed into the plan of attack. I loved our unselfishness. We really wanted to cut down on the turnovers. Our first game, we either scored or turned it over. This game, 21 assists, only 7 turnovers. And then thought we had a great advantage of our physicality and size in the post. And I thought all of our front court guys were terrific.
Tigers get a win over UNO. They'll be back on the hardwood against FIU in 2 days. On Thursday, they'll play FIU there at the Maravich Center, 7 o'clock on the SEC Network Plus. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're with us. Our Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We'll knock out a break. LSU's odds for the next head coach. Where do you see this?
AFR.
Man, I love telling you about the Williamson Eye Center and Dr. Blake Williamson. It's not every day that what we do actually gets to change someone's life, but that's what Dr. Blake Williamson does every single day. He gives people the gift of sight. And obviously, we tell you every day that they're a full-service optical shop. It's eye care, eyewear, and eye surgery. You need your annual eye exam, they can help you. If you wear contacts or glasses and you need that prescription updated and filled, the Williamson Eye Center can help. But the thing that I love to stress so much is their refractive procedures. If it's LASIK, maybe you had LASIK years ago, PRK could be an option. Now, that's what Jay Kester had. Maybe it's the Evo ICL, the implantable contact lens. Maybe it's the custom lens replacement. That's what Jimmy Ott had done. No matter your age or refractive issue, Dr. Blake Williamson can help. Call 924-2020, 924-2020.